Data log, wildlife. Subject, wildlife. Species, the parasite. The parasite is one of the most strangest creatures to ever crawl in the origin forests due to many factors. The parasite is a purplish color creature with tints of red, especially around the face. It has 3 pairs of legs, ending with pointed nails made up of a hard material similar to keratin. Other features include 5 pairs of white eyes, 2 pairs of fang-like teeth, a round body with a robust head, and a prehensile tail covered in backward-facing spines used to keep hold of targets. There is an interesting thing about the parasite, which is the sexual dimorphism between males and females of the species. While females tend to be much larger than their male counterparts, as on average, the females can get up to 51 centimeters long, which is about the size of a medium dog, while the males only get up to 17 centimeters long, just about 3 times smaller than the females. But another key difference is that females tend to get these pimples, like growth on their backs full of this, pus-like substance, which we discovered to be excess DNA, which they end up collecting as they feed on other creatures' blood. Males and females have very different behaviors compared to each other. Females of the species tend to wait up above tall trees waiting for a host to walk under them. These can range from many different creatures, but generally, they target the bigger creatures that have skin, not too tough for them to break, but tough enough so they cannot be noticed. When they spot a host, they'll voluntarily fall off the branch they rest on and land on their host, stretching out their legs to lock in and use their tail on any scales, fur, or growths coming from the creature they chose. And once they're locked on, they'll clamp down with their massive head, locking themselves onto the target. And when they do this, they slowly suck blood from their fangs into channels that lead to the back of the throat. To prevent the host from getting aggressive, they use their saliva, which has numbing properties. And even avoid being noticed, they'll emit pheromones to mask their smell if possible. Males wander constantly and will follow the smell of certain animals, and instead of going for larger targets, they usually head for smaller hosts near bushes and proceed to hop from one host to another, feasting specifically on the blood and avoiding the DNA altogether. But this creature becomes a problem when they breed. When the female is ready to mate, they'll release pheromones in the air, and these pheromones can travel for miles. When the male smells these pheromones, they'll search constantly for the female. When the male finds her, this is one of the most bizarre and strangest processes in making more of the species. They'll bite onto the female and then start to burrow into their flesh. Once half their body is in, their skin will almost start to melt over the wound and their flesh will start to merge, with the female almost becoming one being. The male's organs used for breeding would be absorbed into the body, making it so the female can then reproduce. As weird as this sounds, it's not too hard to believe from a scientific perspective, as it's somewhat similar to how some deep-sea anglerfish from Earth would breed. But in the end, this breeding process is very important to the species, as both the male and the female can only mate once. When the female gets ready to give birth, the eggs hatch inside the body, and hundreds of hungry offsprings will proceed to eat the mother parasite from inside out, killing her in the process. Now you might be asking why this becomes a problem, and it's because of one flaw in the process of evolution. The pheromones the female makes can sometimes confuse the males into doing this process too. Let's just say to something not their species. Usually because these accidental targets are native creatures or creatures who have been exposed long enough to this planet to gain a high tolerance, and only the smaller creatures can actually be affected by this infection. Where this parasite merges into their host, they'll start to drain away blood, fat, and muscle of the host until the male parasite dies, which is usually a week since the host rejects the merging, or when the host dies. But now onto why are we talking about the parasite? Over time, we wanted to try harvesting the DNA off the females' backs, which if we use these, it could aid in advancing a disgusting yet effective tool for us. But as we have done this, we noticed that some males of the species have been getting confused and latching onto different wildlife outside of the facilities. So we decided, since there was evidence that animals that came from Earth had already evolved here before our planet even existed, so we first started with this experiment that makes some concerned. I'll give this to Agent to read, as I was not allowed to read this.
Right, how many of these subjects will I need to report on?
5.
Right. Let's start with our first subject. Subject HH, Hungry Horse. Hungry Horse was one of the few subjects we tested these parasites on naturally, by allowing the parasite to latch onto the horse and confusing it with the female's pheromones. After 20 seconds of the burrowing process, We learned very quickly that the parasite can manipulate the body of its host to the extreme. The parasite pulsed hormones and DNA into the horse, and it started to grow neurons throughout the body and started to fuse even further. And out of a strange turn of event, its tailbone started to get longer and thicker. Its neck got longer and more stiff. Its jaw started to form extra joints and peel downwards. Teeth started to burst out of its gums, adopting more sharper canine teeth. Muscle mass started to constrict its body. This grotesque transformation started to decide to absorb parts of the body back into itself as the hind legs started to devolve, making it only walk on its front hooves. When the transformation was done, however, another event happened. The horse started to grow larger, to the point it was about 40 meters long, and as it grew to its full size, it started to be less responsive to the caretaker of the horse. And when the caretaker, officer, tried to get its attention, it got its attention, but a response he did not want. Within moments, Hungry Horse launched at Officer with alarming speeds and mauled him, devouring him in less than a second. We immediately had to gas the chamber with a highly concentrated mix of mustard gas and liquefied crimson ferns to try to disorient this monster and possibly kill it. This was when we started to learn more about the durability of the life on the Origin Forest, as it seems that creatures of the Origin Forest have a high tolerance to dangerous chemicals. This could have been due to some possible stage where things had to evolve to be more resilient to different types of harmful compounds. And the parasite has shown us what we wanted to see. It could make this horse into a powerful monster with high endurance, strength, and overall, better than what it once was. Hungry Horse was a mindless freak who seemed to suffer from ridiculously heightened metabolism. This means Hungry Horse is in a constant state of starvation, but despite this, he can last without food for at least 2 months. We have seen this type of metabolism before in many different entities, monsters, spirits, and even some wildlife. We don't have a proper term yet for such a condition, but all we know is, it's not the 26 disorder. The Foundation decided to just label Hungry Horse as an accelerated hypervore for now, until we got a better term for it. Now, let's go on to the next one of these subjects. Right, which one? Oh yes, that's right. Subject MA, Mad Angus. Mad Angus was a second attempt, and we tried a different method. We wanted to see what would happen if you were to feed the parasite to an animal. We originally had 2 specimens, but in the end, only one was still standing. We got out 2 full-grown bulls. One came from a bullfighting ranch, and the other was just a cattle for meat. They got put into the chamber together, and we force-fed them the parasites using a tube we temporarily strapped to the face. When the parasites went down, not much happened at all, and we almost just canceled the experiment. That was until we noticed the first bull we fed started to have a convulsion, which slowly became worse. Then, within a matter of time, the transformation happened. This time, no limbs got absorbed and the subject remained to appear like a bull but bigger and unhinged. The second bull started to get its convulsions like the first bull. However, this was when things went south, as the bull we called Mad Angus turned around to see the untransformed and shaking bull and proceeded to attack it. It grabbed the bull in its mouth and crushed it like a soda can. We had to use our TFMT, tactical auto-fire missile turrets, to shoot Mad Angus into letting go of the bull. He let go, and without a pause, it swinged its horns into the 8 feet thick layered bulletproof glass coated in a 3mm layer of blue Origin glass, impaling the glass and puncturing Doctor. However, it got its horns temporarily stuck on the last layer of the Origin blue glass. We did manage to make it contained after 5 to 7 fires of 1-ton missiles to the head. In the process, it lost some of its flesh on the side of its face, showing a patch of its gums bearing numerous sharp teeth and blowing Mad Angus' ear off. While it was knocked out, we retrieved the dismembered corpse and transported Mad Angus into a confinement built at Block 1425, full of our most important experiments, which we put our other experiments like Hungry Horse in. We decided to preserve the bull that got killed, and we retrieved Mad Angus' ear, which we would use for another experiment. When we started to report on Mad Angus, we watched him minutes after waking up do a second transformation. His eyes became black with an X mark in them, and his spinous process along his back and neck started to rise, breaking through the flesh of his neck and some of his back. After that, he seemed to just act similar to Hungry Horse, being extremely aggressive and food-driven. Some staff members had been concerned about the behavior and requested if they could be more tamed. After the 3,000th request, the higher-up officials decided to do a more time-consuming process. Whoa, what's this? Oh, right, this one. Damn it. Okay, apologies, but now we will talk about Subject BB. Bad Boy. After the 3,000th attempt of possibly making a more friendlier version of these monsters, it came to higher officials that if they can tame them, they'll be able to control these things. So for 8 months, a selected officer was told to train a white Labrador dog. The dog was very well tamed and formed a close bond with the officer. And in this method, we done another trick. We wanted to see what happens if we feed the meat of these monsters to others, so we took Mad Angus's ear out of a jar, which we preserved it so we could try feed it to the dog. The dog did take the ear, and we sat and waited. We noticed the dog getting worried and tried to stay away from the officer, whimpering if he got too close. Then after 30 minutes, the dog started to act more distressed and paced around. Then the transformation happened. And this was one of the hardest transformations we had to watch. It twitched. And it was almost like it was trying to fight the transformation by crouching down and clutching its body. After all of that, it happened. His body started to grow and his paws became almost human-like. His muscles constricted around his body and teeth started to grow more. But the most horrible thing happened when the neck started to grow from under the skin and the bottom jaw started to fuse with the chest. Like a jack in the box, its head went springing up with an absurdly long neck, while the bottom jaw remained fused to its chest. We asked the officer to try to give it one of the commands it was taught. The officer told it to sit. It did not respond. We asked the officer to do so again. No response. When we told the officer to approach Bad Boy, the officer got close to Bad Boy. Bad Boy paused. Then, moments after, red tendrils burst from the long, gaping neck/mouth thing and grabbed the officer. We gassed the chamber similar to what we did for Hungry Horse and sucked out the oxygen, making Bad Boy suffocate and pass out. After this, we stopped bothering to use tamed animals, as the parasite seems to nullify the brain's effects. Or at least for now. Okay, we got 3 more. Thanks for your patience. Anyway, Subject FP. Foul play. We tried to go back to the regular method of allowing the parasite to burrow into a host. We had sent an Indian runner duck to give a shot with. The duck was curious and tried to peck the parasite, but the parasite latched onto it and tackled the duck, ripping into its back. Feathers flew everywhere and the duck looked dead after the chaos. As we sent 2 officers, 2 retrieved the duck. It seemed to transform within a second and attack them. The first officer got kicked with Foul Play's spurs, while the other officer got held in place. And Foul Play's featherless wings evolved these sharp blade-like nails. They looked almost like a cheese rind cutter, and it displayed gruesome precision with these claws. We had first tried to gas Foul Play, but it seemed to be able to hold its breath for ages, so we decided to electrocute the floor with 20,000 bolts for about a minute before removing Foul Play. We transferred Foul Play to Block 1425. At first it was like everybody else in behavior, but we started to pick up on things that made some staff worried. Foul Play would just stare at the glass, watching us. We knew it could not break through, because it was made up of 5 feet thick blue origin glass, which is 5 times stronger than a Prince Rupert drop. And unlike a Rupert drop, there is no weak point. But unlike Hungry Horse, Mad Angus, or Bad Boy, who would try to attack the glass, and only Mad Angus had to get a 10 feet thick one because it could crack the 5 feet thick one. But Foul Play did not attack the glass. It was almost as if Foul Play was aware of this, as if it knew that the glass was too strong to break. This was a sign that maybe the parasites are starting to get smarter. In one of the most serious cases, we witnessed Foul Play using its nail to tap on the glass, almost trying to encourage people to come inside. Because of this, we sent a lab rat to go inside with Foul Play. And to nobody's surprise, Foul Play killed them. Because of this, we believe that Foul Play is smart enough to try to lure prey towards him, offering a false sense of security, though we are not that fooled. But this made us decide to research deeper into this. As if they're getting smarter, maybe a future idea can emerge. Now, let's get on to the next one of these subjects. Subject PC. Pork chops. Subject PC was nothing more than just another experiment to us, and we wanted to try the feeding method. We fed a pig one of the parasites and see the magic do its work. We watched it transform into a monstrous pig with blade-like teeth and tusk. And the work happened. Nobody got killed. And we moved him in Block 1425, but something strange happened. For some reason, after a few hours, Pork Chop became a regular pig. Being shocked at this, we sent 4 officers to check on the pig. And to everybody's surprise, it seems that although this pig is still infected with the parasite, It seems the parasite became a part of the pig while also being able to go into sleep. But we soon found out that this was also the biggest trap, as it transformed and proceeded to devour 3 out of the 4 officers, using its jaws built like a stapler remover to cleanly slice people in half. Because of this new information, we wanted to compare pork chops transformations to subjects like Hungry Horse or Mad Angus, and in this, we found that this parasite is slightly different in behavior. It acted like a regular parasite and even functioned like one. It seems it kept about 5% of the pig in control, instead of 100% taking over the body, allowing pork chop to have some moments to be like a pig. But the moment anything is detected by sight or smell, it triggers the parasite. We believe that because this pig's willpower and self-control is stupidly low, making it refuse to fight back against the parasite. From a usual monster to giving us an insight into what's happening with parasites. This only gave us more ideas. And the Foundation wished to find out if it was possible to control the pig. But so far, any interactions with the pig only made it transform. And each time this transformation happened, the pork chop would remain like this for longer. To the point, it was once fully transformed for up to a month. We believe this is because the parasite is getting tired of keeping it as a pig. And studies have shown that pork chop will just stop transforming back at all if this keeps happening. As it seems, the very little left in the pig is slowly fading away, being unable to keep up with the change. Don't worry now, we are almost done. Just one more left. Subject ISIC. Ice cream. Subject ISIC wasn't even intentionally made by the Foundation, and it came as a surprise. We were collecting random things scattered around the origin forest, such as random balls, cups, gears, wires, chains, guns, playground equipment, sandboxes. But one of the more weird ones we found was an ice cream truck. It was slightly larger than a usual one, but nothing too serious. We brought it back into one of the research labs to test out. We decided to put fuel into the tank of the ice cream truck and see if it would turn on. It would turn on, and we got somebody to drive around in it. We took it for a drive for about 20 minutes, and we could say it was in perfect conditions. And it may have been modified because the steel it was made of might have been made of some type of origin ore, making its durability on par with some of our armored vehicles, and even our smaller-sized armored logger trains. The officer who was driving the ice cream truck turned it off and walked off. Should have been a normal thing. Until it wasn't. Because as the officer got to the door, we could all hear a siren, the sweet melody of an ice cream truck, what we would hear as a kid, and beg our mothers if we could go get some. The officer turned around and went to go shut it off. But he was stopped in his tracks when the ice cream truck started to turn on the spot somehow, inching all of its tires like an animal turning in place. And it turned straight towards the officer. Then the doors used to serve people on both sides of the vehicle opened at once. The ice cream truck music got louder and slower. Large fleshy arms suddenly came out of both sides of the vehicle. The headlights grew a little pupil-like structure inside them, and sounds of metal being shifted and stretched could be heard as it grew bigger and bigger. The officer ran to the door and got ready to open it until he heard the music stop. But then it got quiet. It was because the noise stopped, and hands gently thumping on the ground could be heard. The officer turned around and saw the ice cream truck head towards him, slowly. Then, it stopped for a second. And then, the front of the ice cream truck started to rip open, and metal made a melted shape, and under all that metal, thousands of sharp teeth inside a large mouth have been shown. The officer's reaction was not quick enough. The ice cream truck was captured in a more different way. We got somebody to get in a car and encourage it to chase them into an extremely large, heavily armored skyship. This worked effectively, but also cost the driver's life. After we dropped off this behemoth of a vehicle off in Block 1425, we wanted to observe its behaviors, and we found a few things out. For one, ice cream is very clever, knowing how to use its hands, and it almost broke out because when it killed an officer, it tried to use his key card and even managed to remember the first 4 numbers out of a 7-number password. This instantly made it smarter than foul play, but something wasn't quite right. Sometimes during the day, it would make its siren and completely hide inside of its ice cream truck appearance, almost trying to pretend it's an ice cream truck. It even gone as far as digging up a path to go on. We did learn it was infected by a parasite, but what happened was a parasite crawled into the gas tank and got stuck. And when we put the fuel in, The ice cream truck was consuming the fuel, meaning it also consumed the parasite with it. This caused the parasite to become something way more different. It's as if the parasite became its own type of monster, nothing similar to the other monsters we had made. It seems the parasite has learned what the ice cream truck's purpose was, and this made the Foundation wonder. So they founded it. Huh?
Keep reading.
Yes, sorry, Captain. So, the Foundation decided to test this theory by giving live human test subjects who were aware of this thing's nature. It would kill them like it did to the officer. But then, the Foundation decided to send in random children from age 6 to 12 into the enclosure with ice cream. And the response was way too different. Instead of driving towards them fast, it went into its hidden form and waited for them to split up. And when they got far away from each other, Subject ISIC started to play the melody and follow one of the many branching paths it made. All of the kids went down different paths, and the Foundation told them it was safe. So when the first kid saw the massive ice cream truck, she decided to run up to it, most likely assuming it had ice cream. And when she got to Subject ISIC, it just stayed still for a bit. We thought it was friendly to children. What do you mean, thought? What did you...
Since somebody is kept out of line, perhaps I shall inform you in what you need to know about this. Where was it? Ah, yes. We thought that it was friendly to children, but when the side door went down, and the kid's face was in fear, the kid was swiftly devoured within seconds. Staff asked to let them out, but that's no longer the point. They have done their duty. So they closed the Magnanite doors over the 20 feet thick origin glass, and we turned our backs, only being able to hear the happy little melody of the ice cream truck and the yells of the kids asking us to let the door open. But this only lasted a little while. It's gruesome and maybe even wrong what we do here, sir. But remember, humanity is only here because of this stupid rock in space. This planet is 10 times bigger than the sun, Antares, has so many resources, trees that bleed slow-burning oil, thousands of precious minerals, and gems. And with this, gold by the boatload, the very sand, rocks, and ores are far stronger than anything physically believed to be possible. Creatures with chemicals we have never seen before. More ways to advance us as a civilization because of this singular planet. We could theoretically advance 5,000 million years or more into the future with this progression because of this planet. And because we literally made people have superpowers before, we could turn into something beyond that. A god. Many gods. All of us. The perfect ones. And to be honest, you're only here because you need the money. Which is better than being lab-raised or taken against your will, I guess. You and the millions of other men's and women's who come here every day, you replace the brave and the not-so-brave who ventured here. But back into the end part. After the breaching 1425 incident, when Subject Mary managed to escape because one sneaky officer decided to try and take advantage of Mary. And oh, he failed miserably because not only did he get tricked by Mary into opening her door and getting knocked out by an iron bar under the bed, but when other officers chased her down the facility, she stumbled upon the emergency release button. And when she decided to press it, all hell broke loose. Hungry Horse, Mad Angus, Bad Boy, Foul Play, Pork Chop, Ice Cream, and many more subjects broke out, Mary getting carried away into the stampede. We are not going to bother retrieving any of the Paracized monsters since they became a waste of resources after we learned what we need to know. And beside, we only want Mary back. We need her blood. Every last drop. Because her body had started to be able to tolerate and even flow with OB-28. We need her alive. And frankly, that is your secondary goal after the primary one. But if you see her, your primary goal is to get her. After all, we don't pay you $800 billion after your 2-year shift for nothing, right? Good now. Get some rest.